Welcome back to another day of factoring polynomials. This time we're using the AC/B method. And remember that when we write equations in standard form, we have AX plus BY equals or plus C. It's the same concept. A and C and B is in the middle. Okay? It's the same concept. So when I look at my first example, I have 4y squared plus 26y plus 30. And I see that they're all even, and 4 won't go into each of them evenly. So your greatest common factor is 2. 2 times 2y squared gives you 4y squared. 2 goes into 26 13 times. And 2 goes into 30 15 times. And so there is our equation. So when I'm looking at them, I know that 2 is A and 15 is C. So 2 times 15 gives me my 30. That's where this comes from. Okay? And then my B, that is my is 13. So that's where this one comes from. So when you're pulling out that information from your polynomial or your trinomial, that's what these are. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with all of the possibilities for factors of 30. And so I have positive 1 and positive 30. I also have negative 1 and negative 30. I have 5 and 6, but I also have negative 5 and negative 6. And then I have positive 3 and positive 10 and negative 3 and negative 10. Now the sum of the factors of 30 should equal 13. So I'm going to add the factors of 31 and 30. I get positive 31. And if I add the negative 1 plus negative 30, I get negative 31. Neither one of these are 13, so they don't work. 5 plus 6 is 11. Negative 5 plus negative 6, that's negative 11. And again, they're not 13, so that's not going to work. Then I have 3 plus 10 is 13, and negative 3 plus negative 10 is negative 13. We're looking for a positive 13, so this is the one we're looking for. So now I know that to make positive 13, I'm going to simplify this down to 3y plus 10y, and then bring everything else down. Now we're ready, because now we have a 4-term polynomial. We are ready to break that down into 2 binomials, like we did before when we were grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that box method. It works really well for cases like this. Is I have 2y squared plus 3y, those goes to the top, and then 10y plus 15, those are in the second row. If I factor out this, I get a y. If I common factor here, I get a 5. If I common factor this way, I get 2y, and common factor this way, I only have 3. And so that means I have y plus 5 times 2y plus 3. And then don't forget we had that greatest common factor of 2 before. And so that's the factorization using this method of that polynomial. Okay, if I take a look at this next one, I have 6d squared plus 21d plus 15. I look at each of my numerals or coefficients and I see that they're all divisible by 3. So my greatest common factor is going to be 3. And then 6 divided by 3 is 2, and d squared comes down. 21 divided by 3 is 7, and d comes down. And 15 divided by 3 is 5, 5 comes down. So my a is 2, my c is 5, so 2 times 5, that gives me my ac, which is 10. And my b is 7. So I need to find the sum of the factors of 10 that equals 7. So I have positive and negative ones and tens. If I add positives together, I get 11. If I add the negatives together, I get negative 11. That's not 7. Then I have positive 2 and positive 5, or I have negative 2 and negative 5. If I add the positive 2 together, I get positive 7. If I add the two negatives together, I get negative 7. We are looking for a positive 7. So that means that 2 and 5 work. So my factors of 7D that work for this is going to be 2 and 5. So I now have 3 times 2D squared plus 2D plus 5D plus 5. I'm going to use that in the box method. So I had 2D squared plus 2D, and I had 5D plus 5. Go ahead, draw my grid. Going across, I have D. Going across, I have 5. Going down, I have D. And going down, the only common factor I have is 1. So that means it's going to be 3 times D plus 5 times D plus 1. So this is my answer, or my factorization of this trinomial. Let's practice one. Let's do the practice, day 1, practice 1. I have 6x squared minus 10x minus 4. My greatest common factor is going to be 2. So I'm going to divide each thing by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Bring down my x squared. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Bring down my x. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. No variable. Now I have my trinomial. I'm going to do my AC. My AC, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And my B is going to be negative 5. Factors of negative 6 are 2, negative 3, or negative 2, positive 3. Could also be negative 1 and 6, or it could be positive 1 and negative 6. And what we're trying to get is a negative 5. So if I take 2 plus negative 3, I get negative 1. If I get negative 2 plus 3, I get 1. If I take negative 1 plus 6, I get positive 5. If I take 1 plus negative 6, I get negative 5. And we're looking for the negative 5. So this is the one that I want. So now, I'm going to rewrite my trinomial in here. This is going to be 2 times 3x squared plus x, there's your 1, minus 6x, there's your negative 6, and then bring down your negative 2. Now off to the side, I'm going to find my binomials that will work with this 4-term polynomial. And I'm going to have 3x squared plus x, and then we have negative 6x minus 2. Across I have only x. Factor here is negative 2. Factor here is 3x. And factor here is 1. So it's going to be 2 times x minus 2 and 3x plus 1. And as usual, if you aren't sure if you got the right answer, you can always do the product of all this, and then you should come up with your original trinomial when you multiply all these out. Okay, take a look at number 2. Looking for the greatest common factor. Looks like 9 won't go into 21, so 3, looks like greatest common factor is going to be 3. So divide everything by 3. 9 times 3, or 9 divided by 3 is 3. Bring down my m squared. Negative 66 divided by 3 is negative 22m. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. My AC is going to be positive 21, and my B is going to be negative 22. To make 21, I have 1 and 21, or negative 1 and negative 21. I also have negative 3 and negative 7, or 3 and 7. 1 plus 21 is 22. Negative 1 plus negative 21 is negative 22. That's negative 10, and this is positive 10. We are looking for a negative 22. So negative 22 would be this one right here. So I have 3 times 3m squared. My negative 22 is made up of negative 1x, or negative m, and negative 21m. And bring down my 7. Now we're ready to make this 4 terms down to 2 binomials. So I have 3m squared minus m and negative 21m and 7. Going across, I have m. Coming across here, I have 7. Coming this way, I have 3 and m, and coming this way, I have 1. Okay. So I have 3 times m plus 7 and 3m plus 1. I have a negative in here. And these are both positive. So if one of these needs to be positive and one of these needs to be negative. Let's make let's test this one. Okay, so when I multiplied this out, I got a negative 3m and I need to be a positive, and I got a positive m and I needed to have a negative. And the way to fix that would be also to make this a negative, because then that would make that positive and that would make that negative. So our answer is 3 times negative m plus 7 times negative 3m plus 1. Another possibility, by changing these to m minus 7 and 3m minus 1, I get the same answer, and therefore I like this setup better. I like to have my variables positive in the front if I could. So this is what I would choose to be my answer. If you have any questions about these, please make sure you're talking to your teacher. There are different ways of looking at these, and you want to make sure that you get something that works. If you look at practice example number 3, when you look at 2c squared minus 23c plus 11, do I have a greatest common factor of anything other than 1? No, our greatest common factor is 1. So in this case, my AC is going to be 22, and my B is going to be negative 23. Okay? So, 22 can be made up of 1 and 22, or negative 1 and negative 22. And I know if I add those together, I get negative 23. So these are the ones I want. So I'm going to have 2c squared minus c minus 22c plus 11. Now I'm ready to factor these into 2 binomials. So then I get this 2c squared minus 22c minus c plus 11. Yes, this works. So there's our answer. Take a look at 4. See if you can come up with 2 binomials that would make that trinomial. So I found the greatest common factor of 2, factored out the 2, and got this trinomial. My AC is negative 632, and my B is positive 31. I know that if I take 32 times negative 1, I get negative 32. So I'm using, if some of that is 31, so I'm going to use 32 in and negative in. And now I need to find the 2 binomials that makes this 4-term polynomial. After using the box method, I determined that 2n minus 1 times n plus 16 will give me the 2n squared plus 32n minus n minus 16. And so my answer is 2 times 2n minus 1 times n plus 16. And so this is my factorization of this trinomial. If you have any questions, please make sure you're talking to your teacher. Thank you.